Hello, and welcome to the Garden of the Black Roses. This is fan fiction! So, this is the next chapters, because I've been doing 2 per recording, because they're short chapters, of my old Ragnarok Online Fanfiction. So, Chapter 9. Syao, Tadakono, and Phenomenon awoke in a dark room filled with light from hundreds of fireflies. The room appeared to stretch on forever in every direction. "So, you're woken up?" A soft, almost alluring, disembodied voice sounded through the room. "Welcome to the Labyrinth of Yggdrasil. You'll learn the price for entering Velvet Touch of Anishi's headquarters with a cat and disrupting our precious plans." "Gemini!" Sauron roared in anger. "Let us out of here!" He stared up towards the light-covered ceiling. Phenomenon helped Tadakono up, and the 3 stood staring at each other, waiting for her reply. Only silence filled the room, and the 3 wondered what they were going to do. "Where are we going, Syao?" Illusions asked. Mina and Bright Eyes looked worriedly at each other. Sauron's behavior was different from normal. His sense of direction was usually much more better than this. "Syao, do you hear me?" Mina took Illusion's arm, and the 3 stopped walking. Sauron turned around and looked wonderingly at the 3. "Want to rest? Though we're almost there." Mina shook her head and looked at Sauron's eyes again. She gave Illusions and Bright Eyes a small pinch and blinked at both of them. "You're not Syao, are you?" Bright Eyes said angrily. Her jaws flashed in front of her. Sauron smiled, and a line appeared down his face, revealing glowing blue skin. "What are you?" Illusions and Mina prepared to fight. "Me?" The line on Sauron's face split, increasing in size until the image of Sauron fell on either side of the creature within. Mina gasped in fright. Illusions and Bright Eyes shook slightly as they stood their ground. "I'm a doppelganger, but not your usual run-of-the-mill doppelganger either. If you defeat me, I'll tell you more." An evil smile played on the doppelganger's face. A shining orb appeared suddenly in front of Sauron, Tadakono, and Phenomenon. "You can watch your guild die slowly. Member my member." The voice sounded through the room once more. The orb expanded into the shape of a mirror. A scream sounded through the mirror. From the mirror. The mirror's image slowly revealed Bright Eyes being thrown a great distance. The 3 watched as the scene unfolded in front of their eyes. Tadakono fell to his knees, feeling helpless. Sauron gripped his sword. His spirit within burned angrily. Phenomenon covered his eyes, fearing the worst. "Where are we going now?" Lack asked Blackrose. Mount Milgenair grew closer and closer. Blackrose shook her head and set him down near a large sunflower. Screams could be heard from a distance. "What's going on?" "Chibi," Blackrose said softly, "you'll need these." Chibi transformed back to her creative self and took the pouch from Blackrose, almost dropping them on the ground. "Potions, you'll need them. And Yggdrasil leaves too." Turning to Lack, she added, Loki has declared war on the gods, and those who side with them. Because of your guild's victory over Contra, he's decided to wipe Fight Club off the face of the earth first. Balos, Shadow, and myself have been given permission by Fawcetti to search Yggdrasil for your members who were with you at Velvet Touch of Inishi. You need to help the 3 here, then go back to headquarters before those who are there are lost too. Lack closed his eyes. Right. Ready, Chips? Chibi nodded and attached the pouch to her belt. Anything else I need to know, Black Rose? Don't underestimate your enemy. They aren't who they appear to be, Black Rose said, flapping her wings. Overestimate their power. Fight on instinct, not strategy. She flew off into the distance. Lack grabbed Chibi's arm. Ready to fly? Chibi shrieked as Lack snapped towards the screams. Chibi's eyes darkened. In her mind's eye, she saw Lack walking alone through an island. Silence was heavy in the air. Something steps out of the shadows and brandishes its sword at him. Coming to her senses, she could feel his aura changing. I'm going to be a stalker for this. I need you to revive and heal whoever is there and tell them to fight by instinct and fall back to you before they die. I want you to take the stance of a priest in this battle. Lack, Chibi said, her voice shaking, why don't you let me fight? Lack looked back at her. Is it because I'm a creator? Or some other reason? Because you're at your strongest as support, Lack replied, suddenly stopping. Light surrounded him and his clothes, changing to stalker class. And because you're not physically strong enough yet. I like when you're supporting me. And the others in the guild like it also. You're stronger than a priest in some ways. Sorry, Chibi replied softly. I didn't mean... Lack ruffled her hair. Ready to go? Lack said with a smile. I won't go easy on you if you die. Chibi smiled back and nodded. There's no way they can win against that, Sauron cried, punching the ground hard. Not even Lack would have enough strength to defeat it. Tadakono watched in horror as Bright Eyes fell into a crumpled heap. There's nothing we can do, he said, his voice shaking. Tears came to his eyes and he shook all over. Why is this happening? Why? A feral roar sounded through the mirror. Phenomenon uncovered his eyes. What was that? Phenomenon asked, his hands shaking. His shaking turned into surprise as a dark figure jumped into view, landing in front of the doppelganger. A blue figure separated from the dark figure in mid-flight and landed near Bright Eyes. It's Lack! And Chibi! Sauron cried. They'll be alright now, won't they? Sauron turned to face Phenomenon and Tadakono. They'll be alright, won't they? Lack. Mina breathed heavily. Thank God. She fell backwards into a crumpled heap. Illusions gratefully sat down hard, her heart pounding in her chest from overexertion. Lack looked at the two quickly, then at Chibi and Bright Eyes, before launching an attack on the doppelganger. Chibi, Bright Eyes murmured, slightly mesmerized by the white light coming from what Chibi was holding. What are you doing? Don't talk, Chibi said quickly. She shut her eyes and murmured to herself. Under the light of Yggdrasil, Restore this soldier's strength and life. Link this person's life thread with mine, and we shall walk the path of this battle together. White light surrounded Bright Eyes, restoring her life power. She sat up and looked at Chibi in surprise. That was a fabled Yggdrasil leaf, and I've made it so I can see your life thread. I'll explain where I got it later. Lack said to fight by instinct, and I'll pitch you a potion if your life goes into the red. Bright Eyes nodded. Go help Lack. I'll attend to Ilu and Mina. So the leader of Fight Club shows himself at last. The doppelganger hissed. I knew you would come. Did your poor guild members summon you? Lack didn't reply. He focused his power and cast a Sightless Raid multiple times before disappearing into Chase Walk, allowing Bright Eyes to leap in and Meteor Strike. What's this? The doppelganger cried. How are you able to move again? Looking around, he saw Chibi with Mina, the creator. Lack leapt out and swiped at the doppelganger with his twin blades. Your second in command is here too. The doppelganger darted away from Bright Eyes' grim tooth and ran towards Chibi. Chibi! Lack called out. Chibi looked up and cast a circle of flames around herself and then alchemical coating on both Mina and herself. Mina changed to a stalker and blocked the doppelganger's attack. A loud cracking sound, and the sword and armor of the doppelganger fell to the ground in pieces. Mina leapt over the fire and swept at the doppelganger with her blades, forcing it back. Chibi waited in the ring of fire to make sure the doppelganger wasn't going to come after her again before running over to Illusions. On her way, she brought out her embryo. Grant me my homunculus for this battle. Her leaf appeared and bowed to her. Flight, I need you to monitor the life status of Lack, Bright Eyes, and Mina. Keep out of the doppelganger's way. I allow you to use your heal on them until I get there. The leaf nodded and flew off towards Lack. Chibi ran to Illusion's side, rummaging through the pouch for another Yggdrasil leaf. Lack noticed a spiral of white light encircle him, spinning from his feet to his head, and then disappear. Glancing around quickly, he saw Chibi's leaf floating nearby. Good thinking, Chibs. He slashed quickly at the doppelganger, and jumped backwards as Bright Eyes meteor striked. It doesn't look like it's dying, even after it lost its armor. In the corner of his eye, he saw Chibi and Illusions running towards the doppelganger. What is she doing? Getting that close could kill her. Illusions leapt and brought her jaws down hard onto the doppelganger, forcing it down onto its knees. Now, Chibs! Chibi drew her sword and smashed the blue gem on its forehead. The doppelganger screamed and threw Illusions at Bright Eyes, sending them both flying. Chibi jumped backwards and landed in a crouching position near Lack. Are you insane? He asked. You could have gotten killed. Chibi looked up innocently and flicked a blue potion at him. Not insane, she replied, standing up. I just realized this doppelganger's weakness. This doppelganger was created with an Yggdrasil berry. The blue gems on his body connected him to his creator. It's just like the blue ribbon my leaf wears, connecting it to me. As long as the gems are there, it won't die. I see, Lack replied, watching Mina and Bright Eyes and Illusions swipe at the blue gems. But why so many? Blue gems are used by mage classes for spells, correct? Acolyte classes use them too. Lack nodded. The person who created this doppelganger wanted it to be strong against those classes. Thus using blue gems makes it immune to the spells used by blue gems. The number of blue gems relates to what number doppelganger this is. Since it has 3, it means there are 2 others somewhere else. That's probably what Black Rose meant. The 2 others must be in headquarters. Then let's defeat this one and get there. Lack roared and ran towards the doppelganger. Chibi, don't scare me like that again. Chapter 10. Someone created that doppelganger? Tadakono said, sitting with Phenomenon and Sauron watching the mirror. The 3 felt more at ease now with Lack and Chibi there, helping Mina, Illusions and Bright Eyes. But who? And why? Aside from that, Sauron said, looking around, do you get the feeling we're being watched? He drew his sword and rested it on his lap. Phenomenon turned into a champion and summoned spears. Now that you mention it, Phenomenon replied, I do feel it. I can't see anything, though. We're in a very bad position here. It's hard to defend, and it's way too open. If we're attacked... Something howled faintly. Tadakono summoned a fireball and kept it. There's something there, all right. Coloured lights flashed in the distance. Metal hitting metal rang out. Howling continued, getting louder. The 3 stood facing towards the sound. A flutter of wings and a large gust of wind forced them backwards. Stay back! This isn't an enemy you can fight by yourselves. Tadakono was first to look up. Large bat-like wings blocked his view. Metal rang out and an arrow flew past them, hitting something, causing light to flood the room. Shadow? Sauron asked slowly in surprise. He looked around to where the arrow came from. He could only see a pair of eyes. Black Rose? The mediators are here, Phenomenon said, his eyes finding Balos. But why? Lack smashed the last gem with a well-aimed throw of his blade. The doppelganger screamed and exploded into many berries. Without a word, he transformed into a champion and created a warp portal to headquarters. They leapt through. It's too quiet, Illusions said, as they walked towards the front doors. Stepping inside, they met Tadakono in the hallway. Where's Syao? Tadakono asked, surprised. What happened? You all look really worn out. Illusions opened her mouth to say something, but Chibi took a hold of her wrist and gave her a sharp look. Lack noticed Chibi's look and understood. We can't trust anyone here at the moment. 2 doppelgangers are here, and it could be anyone. Xiao's running an errand for me at the moment. He was glad we're okay, Lack replied to Tadakono. I'd like to rest a bit before he gets back. He walked off deep in thought towards his room. He spun and snapped to a pillar close to where Chibi and the others stood. We'd like to train a bit, Mina said quickly, dragging Illusions and Bright Eyes towards the training room. They too doubled back and waited near Lack. Are you sure Chibi should be the one to determine if he's a doppelganger or not? She whispered to Lack. I'm sure, he replied. Chibi is the only one who can sense alchemical properties of things. If this person isn't truly Tadakono, then she'd know. Although, I know it puts her in a very vulnerable position. She gave me this, just in case. He held up an Yggdrasil leaf. They turned and watched Chibi and Tadakono quietly. Chibi looked up at Tadakono, her eyes seeing through his chemical structure. "Can I ask you something?" she said suddenly. She felt that he wasn't the true Tadakono, but she had to make sure. "What did you do to Phenomenon during the battle with Contra? I've never seen a wizard class do that before." Tadakono looked confused. "It was nothing, really. I've always been able to do that." Lack could see Tadakono trying to answer Chibi's question evasively. "Let me ask you something now." Chibi blinked in surprise. "Go ahead." "I can't give Lack the signal if I don't know for sure. His alchemical structure is confusing. He isn't human, I don't think. Although it could be someone trying to hide as Tadakono." "Your leaf," Tadakono began. "Is it able to resurrect?" Chibi narrowed her eyes at him. "That's it. It isn't Tadakono. Tadakono and I had the discussion on my leaf before. He asked the same thing back then too. I doubt it's a guild member either. We know each other's abilities, like we know our own. But is it a doppelganger?" Chibi pulled at her pouch, signaling to Lack that the person in front of her isn't the true Tadakono. "There's only one way to find out now." "Hold your position," Lack whispered to Mina, Illusions and Bright Eyes. "She hasn't told me yet that he's a doppelganger, only that he's not Tadakono." "You asked me that before," Chibi said in a low voice. "Are you trying to trick me? I know what you are." Tadakono stepped back. "I'm a creator, just like your master. I can see through alchemical creations." "What is she doing?" Lack said, annoyed. "She's going to get herself killed." Lack stepped out from behind the pole. Mina, Illusions, and Bright Eyes followed suit. "You will show me what you truly are." Chibi raised Azoth. Lack's eyes widened. He didn't know Chibi possessed Azoth. Chibi leapt and slashed Tadakono across the chest. The outer skin fell away, revealing a doppelganger. The doppelganger screamed. A yellow circle grew outwards from its feet and spreading until it encompassed the entire room. Lack and the others froze in place. The doppelganger looked down at Chibi. "A fight between us. I won't let anyone interfere." It drew its sword and brought it down against Chibi. Blocking with her Azoth, Chibi leapt back and darted towards the back of the room. Lack struggled against the freeze spell. "Come out, little alchemist," the doppelganger called, hunting around for her. "She's going to die if we don't do something," Mina murmured, struggling. Her eyes opened wide. Lack stared at her questioningly. "I just felt something move near me." "It's 'cause I'm here," Chibi whispered. "I'm going to set you all free, but it will cost me my life. I knew this from the start. A doppelganger won't show itself unless someone, like its master, challenges it, or finds the target of its mission. We weren't its target, so it didn't reveal itself, so I had to challenge it. If someone was in disguise, my Azoth would have broken their disguise spell. I gave Lack the Yggdrasil leaf knowing this." Lack looked at where her voice was coming from, his eyes concerned that she didn't relay that piece of information to him. "There was no way around this?" he asked quietly. "Or is there something else that you've left out?" Chibi softly sighed. A doppelganger usually has only one spell they can use, a specialty granted to them by their creator. There is no telling what spell it would be. I guess that, with the blue gems, that it would be a mage spell. The possibility of it being a freezing spell was high. What I need you to do is change your armor to be resistant to freeze spells. I can hold out till you get back, but you need to be quick. Alright, Lax sighed. I wish you'd told me this sooner. The armor we need is in the training room. I'll snap us there and back. I assume that's why you changed your armor earlier? I was wondering why you did that. Chibi murmured in acknowledgement. Get ready. She leapt out from behind the pole, breaking her cloaking spell. The doppelganger leapt at her, swinging his sword wildly. Chibi threw a bomb straight at it, and jumped backwards, landing in a crouched position next to the pole. Using Azoth, she nicked her thumb and placed a drop of her blood into 4 alchemical coating bottles. She coated Lack and the others with the bottles, granting them temporary immunity from freeze. Take care till we get back, Lack murmured to her, snapping away with meaner illusions and bright eyes. Chibi nodded and focused back to the doppelganger. Tadakono, Sauron, and Phenomenon stood before the 3 mediators. You're saying what? Sauron cried. We've got to get back to headquarters fast. Tadakono and Phenomenon nodded in agreement. Shadow, Balos, and Black Rose took a hold of them and flew up out of the labyrinth. I don't know if Lack and the others made it there yet, Black Rose told them, but there are 2 more doppelgangers within Fight Club headquarters. They have your appearances. You were placed here to make their job easier. The one Mina, Illusions, and Bright Eyes were fighting was the one that took on Sauron's appearance. We'll get there soon, Balos added, as they flew over the Sograt Desert. And hopefully we'll get there before the doppelgangers run riot within Fight Club. Chibi flew backwards across the room. What am I going to do now? It's stronger than I thought. I'm already reaching my limit. Standing shakily, she leaned on her sword and faced the doppelganger, determined not to let it pass her into Fight Club. What's wrong, little alchemist? The doppelganger asked menacingly. Your mates won't get here to save you. They're dead already. My partner is going to be here soon, and we'll wipe this castle clean. He darted towards her, sword high above its head. Chibi flicked 2 bombs at it and braced herself. The explosion forced the doppelganger away from her. That, it said, moving towards her again, didn't hurt a bit. Chibi stood, her entire body hurt from the explosion. Where are they? It's taking too long. The doppelganger charged again, bringing its sword down across her body. She cried out in pain. Her eyes blurred as she stood and readied her sword. It's gonna kill everyone if they don't get here soon. How about I tell you something good? The doppelganger grabbed her neck before she could move. It's not like you'll be able to relay this to anyone after you're dead. Raising its sword, it smiled at her. My creator is... It plunged its sword deep into Chibi's chest. Loki. Lax skidded backwards, breathing hard. So your mission was to kill me? The doppelganger ran at him, sword level to Lack's chest. Lack summoned spears and threw them, forcing it backwards. It only has 1 gem. Good. Lack continued to force it away from him while he thought of a plan. Glancing at the girls, he noticed them running towards the doppelganger. Illusions and Bright Eyes meteor striked, and Mina brought her daggers hard onto the single blue gem on its back. The doppelganger fell with a moan and turned to moth dust. Lack, without thinking about what happened, grabbed a hold of the 3 girls and snapped down the hall to where they left Chibi. A scream rang out down the hall. Lack! The mediators reached Fight Club headquarters. Sitting down in front of the main door, Shadow sensed something was really wrong. Upon touching the door, they heard someone inside scream. Tadakono, Phenomenon, and Syao burst inside. Black Rose held onto Shadow and Balos, her eyes towards the sky. We have company, she replied, and not welcome company either. The 3 watched a man descend from the sky with a mischievous smile on his face. Lakey. Chibi stood, her hands holding the sword deep in her chest. Her eyes glazed over, not seeing both the main door open and Lack snap into the room. The doppelganger smiled. You're mine. Chibi drew out a bomb and threw it at the doppelganger's face. The explosion caused her to fly backwards, hitting the wall near Lack. Tadakono cast Lord of Vermilion, and both Syao and Phenomenon darted at the doppelganger. Syao cast Berserk and slashed at the doppelganger. Phenomenon threw spears, and from the corner of his eye, saw Illusions and Bright Eyes leap in to join Syao. Mina turned into a high priest and supported everyone against the doppelganger. I heard you, Lack said, crouching down close to Chibi. We found the other doppelganger. Its mission was to kill me. It only had 1 blue gem, so I guess that means this one will have 2. Chibi smiled and shut her eyes. You did well. He held the Yggdrasil leaf between his index and middle fingers and focused his power into it. Bright light surrounded Chibi, restoring her life power. Her wounds, however, didn't heal. I don't understand. It's all right for now, Chibi replied, sitting up and leaning against the wall. It's because of the freeze spell it cast earlier. It used it on me through its sword. You'll need to kill it to break its spell. So for now, it's all right. I hope so, Lack replied, getting up. He turned to face the doppelganger. If you die on me, I won't forgive you, he added, before walking towards the doppelganger. The doppelganger cast freeze and sent everyone flying. You have some nerve, Lack said to it in a low voice. Harming my guildsmen like this, and almost killing my second-in-command? She's not dead? The doppelganger asked. I failed? I don't think so. She can still die, I see. The doppelganger looked up to the sky. Master? light surrounded it, causing everyone to shield their eyes. The doppelganger laughed as the light died away. Master gave me more power. It threw spears back at Phenomenon and cast stone curse. Fight Club must die once and for all. Lack snapped away from the spells and spears, coming closer and closer to the doppelganger. Chibi's eyes began to blur once more. I'm losing too much blood. She looked up and caught Tadakono's eyes. He darted over and cast safety wall around himself and Chibi. Tada, Chibi said softly. I couldn't tell Lack. But I think he already knows. This wound will kill me faster than it will take to kill that doppelganger. Jibs, Tadakono replied, casting resurrection. I already understand what you're asking. It's alright. Just rest. I'll take care of it. Chibi leaned back and relaxed, letting Tadakono's spell wash over her. Sitting in the meeting room, Fight Club members waited for Lack to come. Syao, Tadakono, and Phenomenon sat in their usual chairs. They glanced every now and then at Chibi's empty chair. Lack entered the room, a blue ribbon wrapped around his wrist in place of one of his gloves. Right then, he said to the seated Fight Club members. Everyone knows now about the doppelgangers that invaded our headquarters. Let me give you all the details in case you all face similar situations. Loki has declared war against the gods. Because we fought on the side of the gods, and because we were victorious over Contra, Loki has decided to wipe us off the face of the planet first. The doppelgangers were part of his plan. I'm unsure whether Loki himself created them, or if there is an alchemist class somewhere that created them for him. Velvet Touch of Anishi also seemed to be under his control. I'm unsure as yet whether it is voluntary or not on their part. Trelawney stood, her eyes glistening. We're not all here. Chibi, Illusions, and Bright Eyes aren't here. Something happened to them, didn't it? Lack nodded. They fell during the battle that took place in the foyer. Chibi is in her room. His voice trailed off and fingered the ribbon around his waist. Illusions and Bright Eyes are in the infirmary. All three are doing all right, and will take some time to recover even with healing. After the meeting, Tadakono, Syao, and Phenomenon stayed back. They were worried about Lack's reaction when he mentioned Chibi. Lack tugged on the blue ribbon around his wrist, lost in thought. Lack, Tadakono started. Are those three really okay? Or is something wrong? Illusions and Bright Eyes need to go through a tougher training regime to get stronger, Lack replied. Chibi, on the other hand, worries me a bit. That wound she received during the last battle isn't healing as well as it should. She keeps telling me it's alright, and she'll be good as new in no time. Don't worry, Lack, Tadakono said with a smile. Phenomenon and I will give her our special treatment, right? Tadakono winked at Phenomenon, trying to get the hint across. Don't worry, Lack, Phenomenon added, picking up where Tadakono left off. We'll take care of Chibi. He got up and dragged Tadakono with him out of the room and halfway down the hall before bursting out. Are you crazy? If something happens to Chibs and we've said that to Lack, he'll murder us both. It's all right, Tadakono said with a smile, steering Phenomenon towards Chibi's room. We just have to make sure she gets better. Tadakono knocked on her door. She's not answering, Phenomenon said, giving a small knock as well. Maybe she's asleep. She gets really angry if we enter her room without her permission. She's in no position to get angry at the moment. Tadakono opened the door. Chibi looked up from her desk, her clothes stained with blood. You shouldn't be moving, Tadakono cried as Phenomenon cast heal. Been working on something, Chibi replied. The doppelganger's got me thinking. If a doppelganger can be created with basic ingredients and a blue gem, then many can be produced at once, right? There's got to be an easier way to kill them. 1-on-1 is okay, but if there are 3 or 4, we'd be all dead. Even so, Phenomenon said to her, you should leave that up to Lack to work out. He kept up his healing, draining his spiritual power. Lack doesn't have all the information, Chibi replied, dipping her quill into the ink pot nearby. I wanted to write down the alchemical stuff in an easy-to-understand format for him to analyze. I know you're both worried, but I wanted to do this, then let myself recover. Chibs. Tadakono sat near her. Lack's worried too. He's carrying around one of your ribbons for some strange reason. Chibi gave him a small smile. So he was the one that took it off my door. Chibi said. She smiled. Finished! Turning to Tadakono, she added, I left it hanging on my door because there was blood on it. He's probably using it as a reminder on how badly a doppelganger can heal one of his guildsmen. Don't worry. Look, after I get into bed, use your duo treatment on me, and by tomorrow afternoon I should be all healed. She got up, causing her wound to break open again. Picking up a blue potion, she flicked it at Phenomenon. Ah! Can you give that notebook to Lack? Oh my god. I could see how different my writing is in comparison to now. Just reading that was confusing. And repetitive. But it is good to look back on your old writing because you learn from it. And this is very old writing. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, please! And if you really, by the end of this whole thing, after the 39 chapters, if you really want me to try and write more of this story, I will try. I am probably going to have to install Ragnarok Online on my laptop so I can play it and get to know the different stuff again, although, as I said in one of the previous episodes, it's been updated from when I wrote this, so now instead of a creator, it's a geneticist. Well, for example, let's use Chibi's job class. So she went from novice to merchant to alchemist, rebirthed. So if you've watched me play Yokai Tamer, the Destiny, when you rebirth you have the Destiny levels. So then she went again from high novice, I believe, Time Merchant, I believe is what it's called, and then Creator. Now with the new update, the update I haven't played, you go from, I believe, Creator to Geneticist. But yeah, I'll have to install it and play a bit again to get back to knowing what the skills were and the monsters and locations and all this other stuff. But yeah, if you really want me to continue writing this after the 39 chapters, let me know. Hell, let me know now. Let me know what you think might go on in the next 39 chapters. It might give me some ideas on where to go with this. But anyway, I'll see you in the next one. And as always, let your imagination grow wild. Bye for now.